Welcome, dear listener. Another night of rest here on Whispers of the Night tonight. You and I will wander into a story that glimmers softly like tiny lanterns in the dark. A tale woven from quiet science and gentle dreams, where fact and wonder drift together like the evening breeze. The story is called Where the Fireflies Dream. Before we begin, I invite you to settle in. Find a place where your body feels at ease, where your breath can slow, and where the weight of the day can softly dissolve. Tonight, the world will wait, while you drift into calm. As you prepare for rest, let's take a slow and gentle journey into stillness. Begin by noticing your breath without changing it. Just become aware of the gentle rise and fall, the way your chest expands like a soft wave flowing in and then ebbs away again. Let your body follow this rhythm, steady and unhurried. With each breath, feel your shoulders soften, releasing the weight they've carried today. Imagine them melting like snow touched by the first warmth of spring. Let the arms grow heavy, resting easily where they are. Your legs to feel the calmness spreading there, as if the earth beneath is carrying their weight for you. Nothing left to hold, nothing left to do, only rest. Now picture yourself lying in a quiet meadow at dusk. Around you, the tall grass sways slowly, brushed by a cool evening breeze. Above, tiny sparks of golden light begin to flicker. The fireflies have woken, floating gently, like dreams released into the night. Their glow asks nothing of you. It simply drifts softly, quietly, a reminder that beauty exists in stillness. Breathe. With them, in a glow appears, out the glow fades. Each firefly's light is like a heartbeat in the air, guiding you deeper into calm. And as you rest there, surrounded by these little lanterns of night, you begin to feel that you are glowing softly, gently, quietly alive in the meadow of dreams. Where the Fireflies Dream. Lanterns in the grass. The evening begins softly, like a page turned in silence. You step barefoot into the meadow, where the air is still warm with the memory of the day, yet cooled by the first strokes of night. Each blade of grass bends with dew, catching the faint shimmer of starlight, not yet fully awake. The world feels hushed, as if the field itself waits for a secret to be revealed. Then, at the edge of your vision, a small light appears. It glows for the briefest moment, soft green and a live beat for vanishing into darkness, and then another and another. Soon, The meadow is sprinkled with tiny lanterns, rising and dimming, like a slow conversation carried on through silence. You pause to watch, your breath slowing to match their rhythm. The glow is not the harsh shine of an electric bulb, nor the fiery crackle of a flame. It is something gentler, almost shy. A light born not of burning, but of chemistry so subtle it seems more like magic than science. bioluminescence. A word as soft as the glow. It describes. It is the ability of a living creature to create light from within its own body. On this summer night, it belongs to fireflies. Though in oceans far away, it belongs to drifting plankton, to glowing jellyfish, to squid with patterns that flicker like starlight under the waves. The secret, always, is the same. A small molecule called luciferin, reacting with oxygen, guided by an enzyme called luciferase. Together they form a spark, so efficient that almost no energy is lost to heat, while a candle burns and crackles, wasting much of its fire in warmth. The firefly glows with nearly perfect gentleness, a flame without heata, lantern without smoke, a miracle of nature's economy. You kneel down into the grass, feeling the soil cool beneath your palm, and watch more carefully. The flashes are not random, not entirely. Each species of firefly has its own pattern, its own rhythm, like a lullaby sung in light instead of sound. One might glow in 2 short pulses, another in long, slow arcs. Some float upward as they shine, others fall downward, like drifting sparks from an unseen ember. The meadow becomes a quiet ballroom, filled with dancers who never touch, yet move in harmony all the same. You wonder what they are saying. For the fireflies, the light is language, a way of finding one another, of promising, of answering. One glow calls, another responds, a silent dialogue that has continued for millions of summers. Science tells you that this language is mostly of love. Males fly above the grass, glowing their patterns, hoping a female resting below will answer in kind. If she does, the dance begins. If not, the light fades unanswered, and the search continues. But there are tricks here too, and dangers hidden in the glow. Some species of firefly, particularly the femme fatale, Futurus, mimic the flashes of others. When a hopeful male draws near, thinking he has found a partner, he finds only a predator waiting to feed. The lantern can be both a beacon and a trap. As you watch, the meadow becomes layered with stories. For each glow you see, there are countless you cannot. Eggs hidden beneath the soil, larvae glowing faintly underground, living as patient hunters that wait for worms or snails to pass by. The light is present even there, under the surface, a thread that runs through every stage of their lives. Light as birth, as growth, as communication, as survival. You let your eyes wander upward, where the first stars now stretch across the twilight. There is a strange symmetry in seeing them together. Stars above, fireflies below. Both are small points of light in a vast, dark canvas, both ancient in their own way. The stars shine because of nuclear fusion, atoms pressed together until they burn with unimaginable heat. The fireflies shine because of delicate molecules meeting with quiet precision. One is cosmic violence, the other gentle chemistry. And yet, to your eyes, they are kin. The longer you stand among them, the more dreamlike the meadow becomes. The lights blur into trails as your gaze softens, glowing threads weaving through the grass. You imagine walking deeper, guided only by the lanterns, until the meadow has no edges, only endless light rising and falling like the breath of the earth. And in this stillness, you remember that humans too once carried lanterns into the dark, torches, candles. Oil lamps or ancestors filled their nights with flames to keep away the fear of the unknown. Yet the firefly had already mastered a quieter way. Some cultures saw them as messengers, spirits of the departed, or fragments of stars that had fallen into the fields. In Japan, firefly are woven into poetry as symbols of love and fleeting beauty. In parts of the Americas, they were seen as sparks carried by trickster spirits. Everywhere they appeared, they stirred wonder. You breathe deeply, inhaling the warm, earthy scent of grass, the faint sweetness of clover, the cool damp of approaching night. Each glow around you feels like a reminder that the world is always writing its stories in light. If only you pause to see Dot, and there is more to this story than beauty. Fireflies are fragile. Now their habitats shrink as fields are cleared. Their nights disrupted by the flood of artificial light. The glow that guided them for millennia grows harder to see against street lamps and neon signs. Where meadows once pulsed with thousands, now there may be only a few. To stand here in this field is to glimpse a wonder that may be fading, a lantern slowly dimming in the vastness of time. But tonight they are here with you, and as you watch them rise, you feel not sorrow, but a kind of gratitude. They remind you that even the smallest life can hold immense beauty, that even a tiny chemical reaction can echo against the stars. You realize that the world is full of such lights, waiting quietly, in places we rarely look. Your steps through the grass become slower, quieter, until you barely move at all. The field hums softly with crickets. The night settles deeper, and the fireflies continue their patient conversations. Each glow feels like an invitation to rest, to surrender to the rhythm of something older than thought. And as your eyes grow heavy, you wonder if light can be born from a firefly, from a jellyfish, from a deep-sea creature drifting in eternal nightin. What other lanterns wait, hidden in the living world, waiting to be discovered? Perhaps tomorrow's path will carry you beyond the meadow, toward waters where the darkness itself begins to glow, and where every wave carries its own lantern of the sea. The language of light. The meadow around you is still hushed, as though listening to a quiet conversation you cannot yet understand. The fireflies continue their delicate flickers, scattered lanterns against the velvet dark. You watch them intently, drawn into the rhythm of their glow. as if each spark is part of a story written in the air. The first thought that comes is simple. This is communication. It is not random, not meaningless. The fireflies shine with intention. A flash is not merely light, it is a signal, a word, a sentence. Each species has its own dialect, its own rhythm of pulses and pauses. Some blink quickly, others linger. One may sweep upward with a glowing arc, while another drifts downward as though bowing to the earth, to you. It feels like poetry to them. It is survival. You lean a little closer to the grass, noticing how one light brightens, fades, then is answered from a distance. Two signals meet in the dark, a call and a reply. It feels tender, almost intimate, as though the meadow itself hums with the quiet heartbeat of connection. Biologists describe this as courtship, the firefly's way of finding a mate. Yet you see something larger in it, the suggestion that light itself, in nature, is a language. You close your eyes and let the idea expand. Language is more than words. It is rhythm, gesture, pattern. It is how one living thing reaches across silence to touch another and hear. In the field, light has become that bridge. When you open your eyes again, the meadow is fuller with sparks. Some rise close to your hands, others drift far into the shadows of the trees. Each glow feels deliberate, like punctuation in a sentence, too vast for you to translate. You wonder if the fireflies think of their signals as words, or if words themselves are only your human attempt to describe something deeper. You let your thoughts soften, remembering that fireflies are not the only ones to use light as language. Across the oceans, deep beneath the waves, countless creatures speak with light. Some use it to lure prey, others to confuse predators, others to call their kin. A squid may ripple with glowing bands along its body, each wave of brightness carrying a message. Tiny plankton burst into blue sparks when disturbed, painting the water with sudden warning. Even jellyfish pulse in patterns that might be their own secret alphabets. Light becomes meaning. Everywhere it tells who is dangerous and who is safe, who is searching and who is found. And it does so without sound, without vibration, a pure visual language written directly into the night. You rest in this thought, realizing how natural it feels to compare the flicker of insects to poetry. Poetry, after all, is not only words, but rhythm and pause, repetition and difference. A poem in light may not need lines or stanzas. It may only need the patient glow of a firefly in the grass, answered by another across the meadow. And then your thoughts drift further, beyond insects and oceans, toward humanity. You remember how humans too turned light into language. Centuries ago, sailors carried lanterns at sea, flashing them from ship to share warnings or guidance. The language of lighthouses evolved, each tower casting its own unique pattern of beams, so sailors could read the coast by rhythm alone. Morse code, too, with its dots and dashes of light, became a way to speak across vast distance and silence. A flash on, flash off, a pattern that could hold entire worlds of meaning. You notice how calm you feel, letting light itself become a teacher, how it reminds you that communication is everywhere, woven into the smallest movements of life. Birds sing, trees release scents to warn one another. Whales call across oceans, and here, in this meadow, insects lift their lanterns as if to say, "We are here, we are alive, we are reaching for each other." The idea comforts you. It tells you that connection is not rare. It is the fabric of the living world, even in silence, even in darkness. Life finds a way to speak. You watch the meadow long enough to notice a rhythm in your own body. Your breathing begins to match the pulses. Your heart steadies into the slow tempo of the night. It feels as though the language of light is teaching you to rest, to align yourself with a rhythm older than words. Your mind begins to wander through history, following the thread of light as language long before humans discovered electricity. We gathered around fire. The flames told stories without needing speech. The crackle of burning wood, the dance of sparks upward, the glow against the faces of those listening. Light has always been a kind of storytelling, both for fireflies and for us. Perhaps that is why we still decorate celebrations with lanterns, fireworks, candles. We write our emotions into sparks and flames, into glowing patterns that carry meaning even without sound. A candle on a cake is not just fire, it is a symbol, a quiet wish. Lanterns floating into the sky are not just fuel and flame, they are hopes released, messages sent upward into the night. Look again at the fireflies and feel them as part of this same tradition. They are the world's original lantern bearers, carrying light not in their hands, but within their very bodies. Their communication is at once practical and deeply poetic. Practical, because it ensures survival. Poetic, because it creates a meadow that glows like a dream. And yet, light as language stretches even further. Stars themselves can be read like a code. For centuries, astronomers have studied their flickers, their brightness, their spectra, each variation carrying meaning about distance, age, composition. The stars write their messages across the universe, and with patient eyes, we learn to read them. Even now, scientists search for distant planets by watching how stars dim and brighten, interpreting those flickers as signs of unseen worlds. Light becomes the universe's own alphabet. Your breath deepens. The meadow grows darker, quieter. The fireflies drift closer now, some hovering at the edge of your fingertips. You do not move, not wanting to break their trust. Each glow feels like a whisper meant for you alone, though you know it is only part of their timeless dialogue. Still, the thought soothes you to be included, even as a listener. In this language of light, you realize that communication does not always require translation. It is enough to be present, to feel the rhythm, to let meaning wash over you without needing every detail. Sometimes understanding is not in the mind, but in the body, in the way your breathing slows, in the way your heart relaxes, in the way your eyes soften. You remain in this reverie, watching, listening with your eyes, and you begin to wonder. Perhaps language itself, in all its forms, is simply the universe's way of reminding us we are not alone. Whether in words or in flashes, in sound or in scent, in touch or in light, life is always reaching outward, always saying, "Here I am. Will you see me? Will you hear me?" the fireflies glow again, and you feel the meadow answer yes. It says, "We see you. We are here. We are listening to." The thought carries you deeper into calm, deeper into sleep. The night no longer feels silent. It feels filled with voices, though none are spoken. A chorus of lights, a lullaby of signals, a poem unfolding in green sparks against the dark. You let your eyes close, still seeing the afterimage of the glows, like gentle stars drifting behind your eyelids. And you know that when you wake, you will carry this truth with you, that light has always been a language, and the world is always speaking. Yet, as you drift further, another question begins to form at the edge of your dreaming. If the meadow is alive with lanterns of the air, then what waits beyond it? In the waters where darkness is deeper, where the sea itself begins to shimmer. Perhaps in the next step of your journey, you will follow the language of light into the oceans, where each wave becomes a glowing sentence, and every drifting creature carries its own lantern of the sea. A history written in glow. The meadow of tonight begins to dissolve into memory. The lanterns you see are not only here, not only now, they are echoes of countless nights before, when other eyes looked out into the dark and saw the same sparks of green hovering above the grass. You drift backward through time, as though the glow itself is carrying you into the past. In ancient Japan, summers were written in the language of fireflies. They called them hadaratini lights that stirred both joy and sorrow in poetry. Poets of the Heian court centuries ago used their glow as metaphors for fleeting beauty, for love that shines brightly but fades quickly, for longing carried into the night. Some poems tell of lovers separated by distance who looked to the fields lit with fireflies as reminders of the other's presence. Others speak of the glow as a fragile spirit, lingering only for a moment before vanishing. To see fireflies in those times was not only to see insects, it was to see the heart's own vulnerability mirrored in nature. You imagine those nights by the riverbanks, where courtiers, dressed in silk, leaned on lacquered fans and whispered verses into the darkness, the air warm, the crickets steady, and the glow of fireflies rising like living brushstrokes in the humid air. It comforts you to think that your wonder is not new, that it connects you across centuries to dreamers who once stood still and watched with the same awe further west. In China, the glow of fireflies carried another story in old tales. They were sparks from the reading lamps of diligent scholars. So devoted were these students to their learning that even the insects came to help them, carrying tiny flames into the night so their studies would not falter. The firefly became a symbol of persistence, of knowledge pursued even in darkness. You imagine the quiet scratch of brushes on paper, the soft rustle of pages, and outside the window, a flicker of green light steadying tired eyes. In other lands, the glow meant something different in parts of South America, the insects were believed to be pieces of fallen stars, small fragments that landed softly on Earth, still burning with celestial light. Children chased them across the grass, catching a star in their palms, believing for a moment that the universe itself could be held in some Native American stories. Fireflies were thought to carry messages between the living and the spirits, lanterns guiding souls through the night. The stories change with place, yet they circle around the same core: wonder. The glow has always felt larger than the insect itself. It has always suggested something more in an unseen world, a mystery, a fragile connection to forces beyond the ordinary. You let this realization sink deeper, your breathing slowing to match the rhythm of the fireflies still pulsing around you. It feels soothing to know that awe is one of humanity's oldest companions, that long before science explained luciferin and luciferase, long before electricity filled the nights, people were already shaped by wonder. You picture a traveler on a dusty road, centuries ago, pausing at the sight of a meadow alive with light. Perhaps he gave the glow a name in his own tongue, one now lost to time. Perhaps he carried the memory of it with him through days of hardship, as proof that beauty still waited in the world. The fireflies themselves do not remember, but you do. You carry the weight of countless gazes folded into the same glow in medieval Europe, where forests pressed close and nights were long. Fireflies, too, made their appearance. They were sometimes called glowworms, their light a humble guide for travelers along narrow paths. To see them was to find reassurance in the dark, to feel less alone in the wilderness. Some even believed they held healing power, that their glow could ease fevers or cure ailments. Whether true or not, the belief reveals something essential. Humans have always trusted the glow as a companion in the night. Your mind drifts further back still, into prehistory, into nights before language was written. You imagine early humans gathered by the entrance of a cave, watching as small lights drifted through tall grass. They did not know the chemistry nor the biology, yet they must have felt the same stirring you feel now, that the darkness is not empty, that even in shadow there are sparks of meaning perhaps. They, too, folded the firefly into their stories, painting it into their myths beside the stars. The science you know today does not erase these stories. If anything, it deepens them, to understand that a simple molecule can create such glow, that evolution shaped such a signal for survival, makes the insect no less magical. Knowledge and wonder are not opposites. They are companions, like two flashes meeting across a meadow. You lie back now, letting the cool grass cradle you, and picture the slow weaving of stories across the centuries. Each culture looked at the same glow and saw something of itself reflected there. Love, persistence, spirits, stars, guidance, a single insect, a single signal, yet infinite meanings. This realization comforts you. It reminds you that humans are storytellers by nature, that we seek not only to survive, but to interpret, to find beauty, to share awe. The firefly becomes both science and symbol, a bridge between the factual and the poetic. You close your eyes briefly and imagine the field. Without them, a darkness with no flickers, no conversation of light. It feels emptier, lonelier, and you remember the warnings whispered by scientists today that fireflies are fewer than they once were, that habitats shrink, that light pollution drowns out their signals, that the ancient bond between human and firefly might fade. The thought carries a tinge of sadness, yet even this is softened by gratitude. For tonight, at least, they are still here, and you are here to witness them, to feel connected not only to the insects, but to the long chain of human eyes that came before you. The glow becomes a thread binding past to present, weaving you into a fabric that stretches across centuries. Your breath deepens again, the air cooler now as the night matures. You imagine the poets, the scholars, the travelers, all watching their fireflies in different times and places, all pausing. As you pause now, you are part of their story, and they are part of yours. And together, across time, you have always been students of light. The meadow is quiet, only the fireflies remain, rising and falling in their steady rhythm. You realize that their glow is not just a memory of the past, but also a promise. For as long as they shine, they carry forward the possibility of wonder. The future, too, can be written in light. You let this truth rest in your mind as gently as a lantern in your hand. The fireflies are not only insects, they are living reminders that beauty is both fragile and enduring, fleeting and eternal, a paradox captured in a pulse of green against the dark. Your eyes grow heavier, your body more still, but your mind lingers on one last thought. If the firefly's glow carries stories from the Earth's surface, from meadows and riversides, from rice paddies and road schwat stories are carried by the lights beneath the sea, in depths where the sun never reaches, and where creatures speak in blue sparks of their own. Perhaps, as you drift onward, you will follow those lights downward into oceans where the darkness itself begins to shimmer, and where the history of glow continues in waters older than the land. The alchemy of glowworms. You step into the cool hush of the forest, where moisture lingers like a secret. The air feels heavier here, thick with the scent of moss and soil, as if the earth itself is exhaling. You notice how every sound is softened, the muffled drip of water, the faint creak of trees shifting in the night breeze, the quiet rustle of something small moving through leaves. Above you, the canopy knits the sky shut, and your path narrows into shadow. Yet it is not darkness that greets you, it is light. Small pinpricks glimmer along the trunks, scattered first like shy sparks, then swelling into constellations. Glowworms, patient and silent, reveal themselves one by one. You pause, letting your eyes adjust. Soon the forest seems less like a place of trees and soil, and more like a vaulted chamber of stars. Each glow is modest, yet together they form rivers of radiance. You feel as if you are walking beneath a sky turned upside down, the cosmos scattered across roots and stones. You draw closer to a rock face slick with water, There, the glow thickens, the tiny creatures clinging to surfaces like lanterns hung with delicate hands. Their lights pulse gently as if breathing. In caves, they weave entire skies of their own ceilings where thousands of larvae shine at once, guiding travelers through underground darkness. The thought of it fills you with wonder that such fragile beings, no larger than a grain of rice, could paint whole worlds of light. You kneel, watching one flicker brighter than the rest. What makes its body glow? The answer hums softly in your mind, not harsh with scientific terms, but tender as a story. Inside its cells lies luciferin, a small molecule that waits like a hidden flame, with oxygen as breath, with luciferase as match, and with a dash of energy called ATP, the spark is born. A chemical embrace becomes radiance. It is alchemy at the scale of life. No fire required, no smoke, no heat, just a clean and perfect glow. You think of how different this is from the lamps humans have carried. Our fire consumes, our bulbs burn hot, but glowworms light the night with no waste, no heat, no ash. Their chemistry is efficient in ways human inventions only dream of. Nearly all of their energy becomes light, soft, steady, blue-green light. You feel humbled, as if these tiny insects carry a wisdom older than fire itself. Your thoughts wander deeper into history. The ancestors of glowworms may have discovered this light long before humans kindled flames. Their glow was not decoration, it was survival. For the larvae, the light lures prey, small insects drawn toward what looks like open sky, only to be caught in sticky threads of silk. For the adults, the glow becomes language. A pattern of light is a message. Here I am. This is my song. Find me in the dark. Light becomes courtship, a way to bridge the silence of night. You imagine the caves of New Zealand, where tourists float in boats beneath ceilings thick with glowworms. The waters drift slowly, and above them, the glow resembles the Milky Way. People whisper in awe, afraid to disturb the illusion that they have slipped into the cosmos. The glowworms hang their sticky threads from the ceiling, each filament a glistening trap, delicate and shimmering. When they shine, the light reflects in droplets, multiplying the glow. An insect flying by sees what seems to be an opening, a passage into night sky, but it is only silk. The prey drifts too close, entangled, and the glowworm pulls its thread. Feeding quietly in the dark, you reflect on the paradox, how survival writes itself in starlight. Your mind softens into the chemistry again, because it feels soothing to know that light can be written into molecules. Luciferin, the name itself, seems mythic, from Latin roots meaning light-bringer. You picture it as a tiny vessel holding potential, invisible until oxygen joins it. The enzyme luciferase cradles the reaction, making the impossible easy. Energy from the insect's body fuels it. Out of that meeting, a photon is released, a small packet of light carried outward into the night. One photon, then another, and another, until the cave glows. You linger on the word photon, the smallest messenger of light. Each one travels outward, steady and silent, until it reaches your eyes. What you see as a soft glow is really millions of photons, born from millions of molecular reactions, each one unfolding with quiet precision. You find peace in this thought that even the smallest processes of life can become beauty visible across a forest. You sit on a rock, letting the quiet of the scene wash over you. The glowworms do not rush. Their light is patient, steady, timeless. You feel your own body aligning with their rhythm. Your breath slows. Your thoughts wander at the pace of glowing pulses. You notice how the forest feels different in there. Company less shadowed, more alive. Light here is not a blaze, but a whisper. It does not overwhelm. It soothes. Your imagination drifts outward to other creatures of light. Deep sea fish carrying lanterns in the abyss. Fireflies signaling in warm fields. Even fungi glowing faintly in rotting wood. Bioluminescence, you realize, is not rare. It is scattered like a secret across Earth. It blooms in water, in soil, in wings, in cells. Life seems to return again and again to this idea of light, as if creation itself cannot resist the urge to glow. You reflect on why. Light communicates. Light seduces. Light deceives. Light survives. For glowworms, it is bait and beacon. For fish in the deep, it is lure and camouflage. For fireflies, it is poetry, each flash a stanza. The universality of it feels like a thread, connecting you to all these lives. You, too, depend on light in the rhythm of your circadian clock, in the food grown by photosynthesis, in the warmth of the sun. You realize that though you cannot glow on your own, you are already made of borrowed light. The thought comforts you. It feels like belonging. To sit in the forest with glowworms is not to be an outsider, but a fellow traveler, bathed in the same photons, listening to the same rhythms. You remember that the human eye is especially sensitive to the color green. Perhaps this is why glowworms choose it. Their light leans toward blue-green, near the center of our vision's sensitivity. It is not to red, not to blue. It is the balance point, the place where your eyes find comfort. No wonder you find it soothing. The forest glows in precisely the shade that makes your mind feel calm. Time drifts. You lose track of how long you have sat there watching. Minutes stretch into hours. The glowworms are unhurried, and so you become unhurried too. You sense how the chemistry inside them continues steadily, without strain, without sound, only a pulse of light every few seconds. You think of your own body, your breath, your heartbeat, as if you, too, are glowing in rhythm. Though invisible, you wonder if this glow might teach you something about rest. To glow does not require burning. To glow does not require burning. It asks only for balance, for quiet cooperation of parts. Oxygen, luciferous, energy. When they meet, the light appears. When you rest, when your body aligns, your life too glows in its own way, unseen but real. You rise slowly and continue along the path. The glowworms stretch deeper into the forest, leading you on as if guiding your dreams. You feel as though you are following a constellation laid upon the earth. Step by step, the night fills with meaning, each glow a note in a slow and endless song. You think about how ancient people might have seen such things. Perhaps they gave glowworms names, just as they named stars. Perhaps they told stories of spirits guiding them, or ancestors returning as lights in the night. The forest itself may have felt alive with messages. You feel kinship with them, across time, across silence. The same awe they felt. You cannot tell where the earth ends and the sky begins. Above, a few stars push through the canopy. Below, glowworms mirror them. You feel suspended between two infinities, celestial and terrestrial, both written in points of light. You pause one last time. The glow seems to breathe with you. You think of the fragile chemistry that makes it possible, the quiet strategies of survival hidden within it, the beauty that spills out beyond any need or purpose. You feel gratitude for being here in this moment, part of this vast alchemy of life and light. And as you continue your walk, you find yourself wondering not just about glowworms, but about all the creatures and stories that light still hides. You wonder what other secrets the night might whisper in radiance, waiting to be found. You step softly, carrying the glow with you, and you wonder what new kind of light awaits when the world's waters begin to shimmer with fire. Fireflies across the world. You close your eyes, and the meadow you once stood in begins to dissolve. The air softens, and your mind drifts outward like a lantern carried by a slow breeze. You find yourself traveling gently, without effort, as though the wings of fireflies themselves are lifting you across continents. Their lights shimmer in memory, pulling you onward, guiding you not only through landscapes, but through stories, through the living geography of the world. In Japan, your thoughts land first. It is summer, and the rains have passed, leaving gardens soaked with the rich scent of soil. Here, fireflies are more than insects. They are symbols woven deeply into poetry, music, and festivals. You picture yourself by a quiet riverbank, lanterns of humankind floating on the water, lanterns of the natural world pulsing in the humid air. The Japanese call them hataru, and their glow is thought of as ephemeral beauty, short-lived, like youth, like the fleeting hush of early love in the Heian period centuries ago. Noble poets wrote verses comparing the soft glimmer of fireflies to the secret longing of the heart. Even now, families walk together to riverbanks during Hataru-gari, the firefly viewing season, gazing at the way the insects rise in clouds above the reeds. Science, too, whispers here. In Japan's wetlands, the species Lucula cruciata, known as the Genji firefly, fills the night with long, slow flashes, synchronized across hundreds of individuals. Their rhythm is not random, but orchestrated, a living chorus of bioluminescence. Imagine standing at the edge of such a gathering, the air becomes a breathing organism, each pulse of light echoing in time with the next, until you feel not only as if you are watching them, but as though you are part of their shining tide. From Japan, your drifting thoughts move westward, across the seas and the continents, into the green expanses of Southeast Asia. Here, in the mangrove forests of Malaysia and Thailand, the fireflies become more than scattered sparks. They transform into rivers of light. Along the Selangor River, whole trees shimmer, their branches glowing as if strung with countless fairy lamps. The species Pteroptyx malacca congregates in groups, flashing in harmony, so precise that an entire tree can appear to breathe with light glowing, dimming, glowing again. Imagine boats drifting quietly beneath these trees, the passengers hushed, as though in the presence of a sacred rhythm. Science explains this miracle as phase synchronization, the same principle by which pendulums swinging side by side begin to align, or by which human crowds unconsciously fall into step. But in this place, on warm tropical nights, the explanation dissolves into wonder. You find yourself leaning back, letting the reflections ripple in the river's dark skin, feeling that the planet itself is alive with breath and pulse. Now, your journey drifts south across the Indian Ocean, where the night air grows heavy with heat. In Africa, fireflies dwell near rivers, their lights mingling with the sounds of frogs, crickets, and rustling grasses. In Nigeria, local traditions once linked fireflies with ancestral spirits, messengers in the night, flickering to remind the living that the past still breathes. Along the Congo River, fishermen setting out at dusk see them as companions, tiny stars blessing the water's surface. And in these regions, another wonder quietly resides. Some firefly larvae glow beneath the soil, a silent, secret promise of the adult light to come. Their bioluminescence may serve to warn predators, saying, "I am not a meal you will enjoy." Or perhaps, like a nightlight in the dark, it simply keeps them tethered to safety as they grow. In the hush of an African wetland, you imagine the ground itself softly glowing, as though the earth holds its own constellation beneath the roots. From Africa, your mind glides north into the forests of Europe. There, the fireflies take another form, glowworms. They are not worms at all, but wingless female beetles of the Lamparus noctiluca. They perch on grasses and low shrubs, emitting a steady green light rather than flickering. Their glow is a beacon, a patient call to winged males that fly through the night searching for them. You picture yourself wandering along a hedgerow in the English countryside, perhaps in June when the days stretch long and twilight lingers. Then, just as the last light fades, you see small emerald glows in the grass, tiny lanterns signaling love's quiet persistence. The glowworm does not flash, does not blink, but instead radiates with endurance, a single light against the shadows. In literature, these European glowworms have been compared to monks keeping vigil, or to hearth fires that guide travelers safely home. Shakespeare himself wrote of them, calling their glow the eyelids of the morning. To see one is to feel, perhaps, that you are looking into an ancient form of communication, silent, steadfast, simple in its purity. Further east in Europe, in the Carpathian valleys and along Mediterranean coasts, other species of fireflies flicker more like those of Asia and the Americas. Each species has its own pattern, its own rhythm, a Morse code of the natural world. One may flash twice in quick succession, pause, then glow again. Another may rise in spirals, like sparks from a fire drifting into the sky. Each rhythm is unique, an evolutionary safeguard, ensuring that signals are understood only by the right companions. In this way, the forests at night become a ballroom where hundreds of silent songs overlap, yet never quite confuse one another. And so your journey drifts west again, across the Atlantic Ocean to the Americas, where fireflies are deeply familiar, yet never ordinary. In the fields of the southern United States, especially in Tennessee, synchronous fireflies gather each summer in the Great Smoky Mountains. Families and travelers walk into the forests, settling on blankets, waiting for the first lights. Then, as night thickens, the woods erupt into waves of synchronized glow. For a few weeks each year, the mountains themselves seem alive with heartbeat-like pulses, as though the earth has become a living lantern. In Latin America, the diversity deepens. Hundreds of species spread across Brazil, Mexico, and Central America. Some inhabit forests, others meadows, and a few even light up caves. In the Yucatan Peninsula, fireflies float above cenotes' deep freshwater sinkholes, sacred to the Maya. Imagine standing by the water's edge, hearing drops echo from hidden chambers, while fireflies drift above, their lights mirrored in the still surface below. The ancient peoples who lived here believed cenotes were portals to the underworld, entrances to realms of ancestors and gods. To see fireflies hovering there is to feel as though the boundary between worlds has softened, that the air itself is woven of thresholds. And then, in South America's Amazon rainforest, fireflies live among layers of towering green. Some species perch high in the canopy, their flashes like faint stars glimpsed through leaves. Others linger close to the forest floor, their glows reflected in the damp understory. At night, the forest becomes a layered cosmos, stars above, stars around, and stars beneath the leaves. You imagine yourself walking there, barefoot on soft soil, the humid air heavy with the scent of earth, surrounded by thousands of tiny galaxies that blink and fade, even beyond the tropics. In the temperate grasslands of Argentina or the Andean valleys, fireflies leave their mark. Each community, each culture has woven stories around them. Some see them as symbols of harvest and fertility, their glow blessing the crops. Others call them wandering souls or tiny candles carried by invisible hands. Wherever you drift in thought, you find that fireflies are never only insects. They are metaphors, companions, reminders of how fleeting light can be and how precious as your journey slows. You feel the whole planet stitched together by these creatures. Asia, Africa, Europe, the Americas, all connected by pulses of light. Each flicker may last only a second, but across the world, they create an endless rhythm, a conversation without words. Scientists estimate there are more than 2,000 species of fireflies, each with its own light. And yet, beneath their differences, they all share the same secret chemistry, the luciferin and luciferase that transform oxygen into radiance. This shared spark is like a single song sung in countless dialects, binding the globe in a shimmering kinship. You rest in that thought that in a world of distances, divisions, and separations, fireflies remind us of a deeper togetherness. Their lights travel across cultures, across mythologies, across time itself, carrying both scientific mystery and human meaning. They are lanterns of memory and signals of connection, bridges across night skies. Now, as the chapter quiets, you picture yourself lying back in the meadow once more. The fireflies of Japan, Malaysia, Africa, Europe, and the Americas all seem to hover above you at once, as though the world has gathered to flicker in unison. Their glow rises, falls, and rises again, until you no longer know where one species ends and another begins. The air feels stitched with their dreams, and you breathe in rhythm with them. And as your breath softens, you begin to wonder what happens when their light fades, when the night gives way to morning, when the glow must yield to the sun. The last glow at dawn. The meadow stretches quietly beneath the sky, softened by the pale hush of approaching dawn. The night, which only moments ago seemed alive with whispers of light, has begun to loosen its hold. You notice the fireflies slowing their rhythms, their sparks less frequent, as though the very act of glowing has become heavy in the cool air. One by one, their lanterns dim, vanishing into the folds of grass and shadow. What was once a living constellation above the earth now feels like memory, a fleeting trace you carry in your heart. You stand at the threshold of two worlds, the hushed velvet of night and the first pale breath of day. It is a moment of balance, fragile and tender, when neither time of day fully rules the sky. The fireflies have always belonged to this in-between space, dancing not in daylight and not in darkness alone, but in the mysterious bridge where the two meet. Their final glows at dawn are not simply endings, but small, patient farewells, as though they too know that every story deserves a gentle closing line. You lean into the quiet, listening for them. Though their lights fade, their presence lingers. Scientists call this fading a rhythm, the way their bodies respond to cycles of temperature, of humidity, of light. Fireflies sense the coming day long before you see it fully. To them, dawn is not a clock, but a gentle shift in air pressure, the subtle warming of soil, the rising scent of morning dew. These are signals written not on watches, but in the breath of the earth itself. And so they rest, tucking their lanterns away as carefully as monks extinguishing temple candles. For a moment, you imagine each firefly as a guardian of the night, one whose task has been completed. Their lights helped weave patterns across the meadow, a kind of language that passed between them, sometimes for courtship, sometimes for warning, sometimes for sheer, luminous wonder. Now, their work dissolves into stillness. You can almost hear the meadow sigh as they retreat. Your thoughts drift to the science of light itself. Bioluminescence, that wondrous chemistry, requires oxygen, luciferin, and the precise dance of enzymes inside their bodies. It is a fragile miracle, balanced perfectly so that energy transforms into glow without heat. Unlike a flame which devours and burns, their light is cool, gentle, like moonlight caught in miniature. It is a light designed for softness, a light that carries messages without sound. At dawn, however, this quiet alchemy pauses. Fireflies conserve their strength, withdrawing into grasses and leaves, waiting for night to return. The world feels slower here. You breathe with the rhythm of their fading lanterns, each exhale a reflection of a firefly's dimming light. The repetition comforts you, steady as a lullaby. It makes you wonder whether you, too, carry hidden lanterns inside moments of memory, sparks of thought that glow quietly before fading into rest. Perhaps every heartbeat is its own kind of lantern, steady and soft, holding vigil against the long dark of sleep. Dawn creeps higher. The meadow becomes outlined in silver. Dew begins to glisten where fireflies once hovered, as if the earth itself has taken up their lanterns. In truth, dew is its own small miracle, the condensation of moisture in cool air, drawn into droplets that capture the first faint light. Each bead holds a miniature sunrise, so that the ground shines with a borrowed constellation. Fireflies disappear, but the meadow does not let go of light entirely. Instead, it transforms it. You see it now in the grass, in the fine mist above the soil, in the pale stretch of clouds glowing at the horizon. It comforts you. This idea that nothing is ever fully lost. The fireflies may dim, but the glow they leave behind carries forward, like ripples across water. In nature, cycles rarely end. They turn, shift, return. The same is true of memory, of dreams, of sleep itself. Every night you close your eyes is a setting of the lantern. Every morning you open them is its gentle rekindling. As you linger, you recall how different cultures have understood these insects. In some Japanese traditions, fireflies are thought to carry the souls of the departed. In Native American stories, they are sparks stolen from a sacred fire, gifts meant to guide and teach. In European folklore, their sudden vanishings were signs of weather shifts, omens written in tiny lights. And here you stand, seeing them as symbols of transition, of night becoming day, of wakefulness surrendering to rest. Each interpretation carries its own truth, woven gently into human imagination across centuries. Science and myth meet in these moments, not as rivals, but as companions. One explains how oxygen and enzymes create light, while the other whispers why such light matters, why it feels sacred when it fades. Both ways of knowing soothe you, like two hands resting on either side of your heart. Together, they say, even the smallest glimmer has meaning, and even endings hold quiet beauty. The air grows warmer, birds stir faintly in the hedges. You notice the shift in sound, the low hum of night insects softening, replaced by the tentative notes of morning songs. The fireflies retreat further now, invisible in daylight. Yet you sense them still, hidden but present, like forgotten verses in a song you once knew by heart. Their lanterns may be dark, but their silence speaks. You find yourself wondering whether they dream. When fireflies nestle into leaves at dawn, do they remember their dances? Do they carry visions of glowing fields into their stillness as you carry them into your sleep? Perhaps their chemistry, so tuned to light, also hums with memory. Perhaps they, too, drift between presence and absence, their lives written in sparks that flare and fade, flare and fade. The meadow begins to change shape under daylight. Shadows shorten, colors sharpen, yet in your mind, the night still lingers. You carry with you the sight of thousands of lanterns, flickering like fragments of starlight that dared to fall to earth. That memory becomes your own hidden flame, a soft glow that will guide you through the day, or, more tenderly, into the embrace of sleep. Fireflies teach you something simple. Beauty is not measured by permanence. Their lights last only seconds. Their seasons mere weeks, and yet those moments stay etched into your heart long after the meadow empties. In this way, they mirror the fleeting thoughts that drift through your mind at night, small sparks, glowing briefly, then fading as you sink deeper into dreams. Both are ephemeral, yet both matter. You let the meadow go quiet. Your breathing grows slower, steady as the hush of grass in wind. The world feels softer now, layered in folds of silence and light. You are drifting, carried not by footsteps, but by the slow turning of the earth itself. And in this drifting, you realize that dawn itself is a kind of firefly, glowing briefly on the horizon before surrendering to the fullness of day. Its lantern is larger, more radiant, but no less fleeting. In a few minutes, the sun will rise, the sky will brighten, and night will be only a memory. Yet even then, you will know that somewhere beyond sight, fireflies are waiting for the return of dusk, when they will scatter their lanterns once again across the meadow. For now, you let your mind rest in this space between fading and becoming. The last glow of dawn lingers like an ember at the edge of vision. You feel yourself soften, thoughts dissolving like mist, body settling like soil beneath dew. And as your eyes grow heavier, you find yourself wondering if light can fade so gently. What other secrets of night and day lie hidden in the quiet spaces between? Thank you for resting with us tonight, here on Whispers of the Night. May the glow of the fireflies guide you into a deep and peaceful sleep until we meet again.